lost mine in the sand. Where will you stand?
Well, Hanok, this is going to be the last week for a while that we're going to be separated by so long, so many miles between us.
I look forward to that. I mean, the very fact that we're now an hour closer is like amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, an hour and next week, Bezrat Hashem, I'll be right there, next to you. I'll be kind of, above you. I guess we could say it like that, since I'll be in Jerusalem and you'll be down in
Yeah.
Modin.
Yeah. So yeah, that'll be great. It'll be great to have you here.
Looking
A
forward to it.
lot going on here. A lot
Yeah,
going on.
tell me what, and yeah, feel free to not have everything kind of fall totally apart before I get there. Okay?
Yeah, it's a very okay. There's a lot of big news going on
Yeah.
here. Not the least of which is some guy by the name of Adam Bowler, who was sent by the White House and then negotiates directly with Hamas.
Mm-hmm.
Now, our audience is generally old enough to remember that the United States government does not negotiate with terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, there are people who wondered, well, wait a second, is this with Trump's approval? And I got to tell you something. I don't have the inside scoop, but I can't imagine another branch of the American government doing something without Trump's approval.
Well, it's interesting, Hanok, because last night, Kathy said, "Hey, she's on one of these streaming services we have, and she said, 'Hey, let's watch the movie Reagan.'" Well, I mean, me and Reagan have some issues, slight issues. There was one statement in the in the movie, but I've been wanting to watch it anyway because I really, in the end, don't have any animosity toward Reagan, even though he fired me. But it was fascinating, and what you just said, Reagan got in trouble for many years ago with the Iran Contra affair. And so the similarities between what was in the days of Reagan and what is in today with Trump, the difference is we have somebody that is not able to speak real well because he makes every statement about himself. But that's another subject. So, but
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
just a
So,
similarity. It's like I looked at Kathy. I said it's like history is repeating itself in a lot of ways.
um, so first of all, there were numerous mixed signals. Clearly, the Israeli government was not tipped off this was going to
Yeah.
happen. Which again, as we say in ancient Aramaic, no bueno. This is not good at all. Then it was that the American government is pushing for the now unconditional release of the American hostages,
Mm.
of which there is one alive and four dead. Okay, that's Hamas is holding four dead Americans. And the other Israelis who are not, dual citizens with America. So this is really bizarre, number
Yeah.
one. Okay, so that's one thing. And then this guy Boulder gives numerous press conferences, and I jotted down a number of things that jumped out at me. Um, okay, first of all, he's referring to the terrorists in Israeli prisons as hostages. He referred to them as hostages. He referred to our hostages as prisoners. Now, on that level of international diplomacy, this is inexcusable,
Yeah.
unforgivable.
Absolutely.
He mentioned that he tries to identify the quote unquote human element of the Hamas representatives that he was dealing with. Now, again, do we need to go over all the atrocities that they committed and that they continually promise will happen again and again? Um, he gave conflicting responses whether the White House slash Trump approves of what he's doing. Now, Marco Rubio is Secretary of State. So it's either Rubio is approving this or Trump is approving this, or, but okay. He criticized the terms of the deal that we've been operating under, which is a direct criticism of the Israeli government. And he made it a point to differentiate that Israeli and American interests don't necessarily coincide. Uh, and last but not least, he basically said that he could care less that Israelis were highly agitated, that he was negotiating directly with terrorists without input from the Israeli government. So this is really shocking on many levels. It also ties in with and I got to tell you, it's you, me, and a handful of other people who are saying, although things appear to be great, America is supporting the government of Israel, has released, munitions. Um, don't expect that America is going to strike Iran, kids. That's number one. Trump is looking for a deal. If you look at the way he threw Zelensky under the bus so he could get back in bed with Putin, is very concerning for us. Again, and I'm only talking about Trump vis-a-vis Israel.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So we don't know.
There's so many issues that Trump has on the table right now, that it's hard to. Yeah, I see this as kind of like juggling one too many razor sharp knives.
Right.
At some
Now,
point in time, one of them's going to cut you.
all of Israel's supporters were thrilled to hear that Trump announced that the federal government was slashing $400 million in grants to Columbia
Hmm.
University, and that the immigration people had arrested one of the ringleaders of the pro-Hamas protests and all the damage they did at Columbia University. But I just read within the last hour, judges in the US
Hmm.
have blocked both of those moves.
Hmm.
So I don't know what's going to happen with that. Now, everyone is asking, is there a ceasefire now? Is there not a ceasefire? If there's not a ceasefire, can you explain why? And I'm going to attempt to do that.
Okay,
Um,
I'll
and
sit back and listen.
considering that we don't have an hour to just handle that one topic. But here's the deal. The ceasefire phase one has expired. Israel doesn't want to go into phase two because it mandates that Israel withdraw all troops and declare a permanent ceasefire. Oh, by the way, that Bowler idiot, the other thing that he said was that he believes that Hamas is willing to disarm and sign a deal for 5 or 10 years, and is no threat to Israel. This guy has to be the biggest moron ever born in the United States of America.
I mean, I saw that article and I didn't really spend a lot of time with it, but look, who is, how did this idiot get there? How did they figure out? Let's send the stupidest person that is available in the United States, and let's send them over in the middle of it and see what happens. This is ridiculous.
And again, people have told me, because when I was speaking in America, which was fairly recently, people were saying like, "Wow, so what do you think of Trump's cabinet?" I said, "It looks like, the All-Star team."
Hmm.
I said, "But I remember Rex Tillerson being appointed Secretary of State in his first administration. Didn't last very long. I remember General Mattis being appointed, Secretary of Defense. Didn't last very long." So I don't know. But okay, so let's get back to what's going on here in Israel. So Netanyahu is procrastinating. He's procrastinating because he wants to remain in power. Okay. Whether our listeners, and I have to tell you, the most unpopular thing that I spoke about in America
Hmm.
was pointing out what Netanyahu has done wrong. Because everyone's like, "Rrr, murmur, murmur." So let me lay it out for you really quickly, kids. And again, remember, we have a parliamentary democracy. An important date is coming up, March 31st. Why is it important? Because based on our law here in Israel, if a budget is not passed by the government on October 31st, the government falls and elections are held 100 days later.
You just said March 31st, then you said October 31st.
March 31st, sorry.
Okay. Okay.
March 31st,
Yeah.
at the end of this month.
Yeah.
Okay. So Netanyahu wants to remain in power. So what's the problem? The problem is if he extends the ceasefire formally or goes into a different format, Bezalel Smotrich, to the right of Netanyahu, because Netanyahu is in the centrist.
Mhm.
Anyone who tells me Netanyahu is a right-wing prime minister, I immediately dismiss as someone who is lacking mental capacity. Okay? It's as I'll be as blunt as I can.
Well, they haven't studied. I'll give them the benefit of saying they haven't studied it out. They've just repeated what
Okay.
they've heard from everybody else.
Okay,
Yeah.
so here's the dilemma. So if Netanyahu pushes or agrees to a ceasefire, they'll leave and they'll vote against him and they won't pass the budget. They won't pass the budget, his government falls,
Hmm.
and 3 months later dissolves. What they want is for us to resume the fighting and crush Hamas and remove that knife to our throat. But the American government doesn't want us to do that. So it's torn between two lovers. Who do you listen to? And it's a real problem. The American government thinks, let me rephrase, the current American government thinks you can make a deal with everybody.
Yeah.
Rubio is meeting with
Yeah.
the head of Saudi Arabia, and everyone's trying to, like make a giant business deal of it. Now, the thing that's so funny, looking back on that A1 video, artificial intelligence video, with the golden statues of
Yeah.
Trump and everything.
Don't remind me all
No,
of it.
no, 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 no. But the thing is,
I know.
people saying Trump didn't do it. But Trump, okay, here's the thing, guys. Trump posted it on his Twitter. So he's not against it. It's not reality based. Now, one of the things that I think can provide the best for our listeners is letting them know the pulse in the streets here in Israel.
Yeah.
Now, stickers. Anyone who's been to Israel over the years knows that we have an obsession with stickers. All kinds of political stickers for Netanyahu, against Netanyahu, Kahana Tzadak, Rabbi Kahana was right, okay, all these things. So the other day, I'm in front of the Central bus station. There's a nice little plaza there that they finally finished. So you've got the Central bus station on one side of the street. You've got the Yitzhak Navon train station, which gets me to Modi'in in 24 minutes. And it's also the way to, get people to the airport. Okay, so there was a guy there with stickers that I had never seen before, or at least one I hadn't seen it in many, many, many years, since way before I came to Israel. So I'm going to hold them up to the screen and I will read it. And I will translate it. So just tell me if this can be seen.
Yeah. Got it.
Okay. In Hebrew, it's pronounced transfer. In English, it's transfer. This is the word used to expelling the Arabs from Israel. This is the thing that people still get their undies up in a knot regarding Rav Kahana. And again, I urge everyone to go out go onto Amazon and get a copy of They Must Go.
Hmm.
Okay, so that was one sticker. The other one, which is also just so appealing to me, Kadur Berosh Lekol Michabel, a bullet in the head for every terrorist.
Oh,
Okay, you gotta love the subtlety, but
yeah, that's total.
we're building up momentum here. Okay, Kibush, conquest, Gerush, expulsion, Vihityashvut, and settlement. So, in 3 words, what we need to do in Gaza: crush and destroy our enemy, expel the rest, and build Jewish communities throughout Gaza.
What a novel idea.
Okay,
Uh,
so
I think
now
I've mentioned something about that in the past.
you may have, you may have. Now, I don't want anyone to think this is fully
Yeah,
mainstream,
yeah.
more than 50% of these, but the idea that this idea, let me try this in English. The To me, it's unbelievable that Pandora's box is opened. That you've got Bezalel Smotrich, who was our Minister of Finance, talking about committee meetings to encourage voluntary emigration from Gaza. Now, about a week ago, there was mention that there's going to be yet another one of those flotillas coming to Gaza where all these left-wing wokeists will be there. Our Minister of Defense, Katz, came out with something and said we should allow them to land. We should impound the boats and use them to take Gazans who wish to leave Gaza and transport them. Whether this is a reality-based idea or not, the fact that our Minister of Defense said that, to me, was astounding. Because if it's Mike and Hanoch saying it,
Yeah, I know.
it's like, okay.
Yeah.
So this is mainstream government. The other thing is our new chief of staff, General Zamir, who appears that he's going to be a good guy. Among the first thing that he did was he canceled a policy that has been with the IDF for decades, that on every holiday, most of the soldiers are allowed to go home,
Hmm.
which is why we had a skeleton crew on, in the Gaza envelope
Hmm.
on October 7th.
As
So
well
that
as
policy
73,
of
yes.
decades long has been canceled.
Hmm.
We are still in a huge manpower shortage. Um, it's people I know who, have been serving in the reserves, have gotten their notices of when they're being called back up. Um, Now, what's going on in Syria? Most people are unaware. In the last few days, the new jihadi rulers, their supporters, have killed 7,000 Alawite Muslims. Assad was an Alawite. It's a minority within Islam, and Christians. So, when people said, well, there's a new government in Syria, and I said, yeah, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. It's a
Hmm.
different group of jihadis.
Yeah. And nothing's really, there's news on that, but it's not out front. All right.
Yeah,
I want to go back a
sure, man.
little bit to this whole thing between Netanyahu and Trump. Um, as someone, and I don't use this as a badge of honor, but as someone who's met Netanyahu when he was out of office back in the early 2000s, again, I say this man, whether you liked him or not, agreed with him or not, he commanded the room.
Yeah,
He was a statesman. He
agreed.
was he was when he walked in a room, the room changed, and I admire people like that. What I saw with him when he was in Washington, D.C., is he had turned into a lapdog. You know, if anybody knows Prime Minister Netanyahu and would like to set up a meeting, I'm not afraid to say this to his face. He looked like a lapdog to me. What you just explained at the first of our program is President Trump treating him as a lapdog.
Yeah.
President Trump has what I saw in the room between these two men is that President Trump has no respect for Bibi Netanyahu. And I would go so far as to say that his terms in office are coming to a quick end. I personally believe he's done.
Well, the thing that's ironic is the most recent poll, and again, election polls here are more common than hummus and falafel.
Yeah,
Okay. And
that's
there's no
common.
consistency with the taste, are showing Likud leading the voting,
Hmm.
which to me is astounding. But things change all the time, and there'll be new parties. And every retired general who is entering politics, and this is not a positive statement about my countrymen and women. We love our generals, and we've always, thought the highest of them, and most of them have turned out to be disasters. All of the problems in doctrine and preparation and in operations for the IDF now stem back from 2000 when Ehud Barak,
Hmm.
who was our most decorated
Hmm.
soldier, general, ex-general, was our prime minister. So,
Yeah, I
you know,
mean, yeah, something happens to generals, what seemingly good generals, when you put them as prime minister, they totally fall apart. So what would I say to Prime Minister Netanyahu? If given the opportunity, I'm not in any way trying to diss this man because I personally still believe with what I saw, the what I not so much what I saw, but what I felt, that there is something in this man that he has lost. And if he were to come back and stand before the Israeli population with the scripture in hand and say, "This is our guideline from this point on," I believe he could save his legacy. Now that may be
that's not
something
going
that
to happen.
I yeah, I just threw it out there, okay? I didn't say that I believed it
Okay,
was
no,
going to
no, no,
happen,
no, 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 no slings
but
and arrows. No,
yeah,
no.
yeah, but this I believe that he could save his legacy because it's not looking real good at this point in time. He's going down the same path as Sharon and Barak and others. He could save that if he would stand up with the scripture in his hand and say, "This is our guideline, and this is how we will deal with the situation in Gaza, and this is how we will deal with America also." That we will stand upon our own 2 feet and we will trust in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Do I see that happening? No.
Forget about it. Not going to happen. On the other hand, little mini updates for people. Temps today are in the high 60s. Um, Gorgeous weather. I don't know, sadly, if we'll be getting any more rain this year. It doesn't appear that way in the longer range forecasts. That's not good, but our window of opportunity is essentially November to March.
Mhm.
Um, Starting to see tourists returning to Israel. Um, again, on the Harabayit, on the Temple Mount on Sunday, ran into yet another group from Indonesia who were
Mhm.
in Israel for 3 days.
Wow.
I'm assuming they're in Jordan, or I mean, it's way too far to travel. But it to me, it is amazing. People are talking about an uptick in Jewish visitors for Pesach. for Passover. We'll see.
Hmm.
I'm waiting to hear back from a lot of people. I have a tour group scheduled the end of April into the beginning of May, um, which is still happening.
Cool.
So I'm very excited about that.
And we're planning to work on it. Now, Hanok, on the weather, it shows that on Tuesday, or no, on Thursday, Friday, and Shabbat, when I'm there, that there is a forecast of rain. Highs in the 60, low 60s and mid 40s at night. I would like you to work on a little bit more preferential treatment of me while I'm there.
Well, I'll be back on the Harabayit on the Temple Mount within days,
Okay.
and I'll put it at the top of my
If you
list.
could put in a request for me from the Harbite, I would really appreciate it. Yes.
It'd be my pleasure. Again, to our listeners, I really hope that you all have been saving since the war started, so you'll be prepared to go to Israel as soon as we're prepared to take you. And it's literally, I know I look at the news obsessively. An hour doesn't go by when I'm not checking multiple reports and then looking at Reuters and the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Post and CNN and Fox and gleaning whatever I can. And right now it's a giant ball of confusion.
Mhm.
Um, and again, I hope I shared a little bit of insight of why Netanyahu is waffling and just treading water because he's classically always doing, like let me just get till tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a better day.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. And
Sad.
and on the trip, on the tours, Hanok and I are planning to spend some time on that. One of the reasons I'm going to be in Israel is to meet with the hotels and actually not just send an email, but be there in the hotel, see what the conditions are, all of those things,
Right.
because we don't want to put somebody in a place and there's been no maintenance for the last year. We want to have nice facilities, so that's going to be on the table while we're there. Hanoko and I will be meeting concerning dates and all those things, and trying to push this thing forward if we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So again, y'all need to have a current passport that's not expiring within 6 months. You need to have been saving. I sure hope you have.
Yeah, yeah, I got you. All right. Well, Bezrat Hashem, see you in a few days at Ben Gurion Airport.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't worry about picking me out through the crowds. The crowds aren't as thick as they used to be.
I've never had a problem in finding you. Okay.
Sounds
Just
great,
saying.
Mike.
All
Have a
right.
good one, man.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.